Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Riddhi Antas Tohi Abhadrani Vidhu Noti Shurit Satam Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 23, verses 38 and 39. Vaichitravirya Pitam Madan Mahatmya Suchakam Asmin Kritam Ati Martyam Parthavam Gatim Apnuyat. Synonyms: Vichitravirya, O son of Vichitravirya, Vidura. Abhitam, explained. Mahat, great. Mahatmya, greatness. Suchakam, awakening. Asmin, in this. Kritam, performed. Ati, martyam, uncommon. Parthavim, in connection with Prithvi Maharaj. Gatim, advancement, destination. Apnuyat, one should achieve. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, I have as far as possible spoken the narrations about Prithvi Maharaj, which enrich one's devotional attitude. Whoever takes advantage of these benefits also goes back home, back to Godhead, like Maharaj Prithvi. Purport. The word Shravayet mentioned in a previous verse indicates that one should not only read for himself, but should also induce others to read and hear. That is called preaching. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended this practice. Yare deka tare kaha Krishna upadesha. Whomever you meet, simply talk with him about the instructions given by Krishna, or tell him of narrations about Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita 7:128. Prithu Maharaj's history of devotional service is as potent as narrations about the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should not make distinctions between the pastimes of the Lord and the activities of Prithu Maharaj, and whenever it is possible, a devotee should attempt to induce others to hear about Prithu Maharaj. One should not only read of his pastimes for one's own benefit, but should induce others to read and hear about them also. In this way, everyone can be benefited. Text 39. Anudinam edam darena shinvan prithu charitam pratayan vimukta sangaha Bhagavati Bhava Sindhu Pota Pade Sacha Nipunam Lapete Ratim Manushyaha. Synonyms: Anudinam, day after day. Idam, this. Adarena, with great respect. Shrinvan, hearing. Prithu Charitam, the narration of Prithu Maharaj. Pratayan, chanting. Vimukta, liberated. Sangaha, association. Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhava Sindhu, the ocean in essence. Pota, the boat. Pade, whose lotus feet. Sahahi, cha, also. Nipunan, complete. Labate, achieves. Ratim, attachment. Manushaha, the person. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Whoever with great reverence and adoration regularly reads, chants, and describes the history of Maharaj Prithu's activities will certainly increase unflinching faith and attraction for the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord's lotus feet are the boat by which one can cross the ocean of nescience. Purport. The word Bhava Sindhu Potapade is significant in this verse. The lotus feet of the Lord are known as Mahat Padam. This means that the total source of material existence rests on the lotus feet of the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham Sarasya Prabhavaha, everything is emanating from him. This cosmic manifestation, which is compared to an ocean of nescience, is also resting on the lotus feet of the Lord. As such, this great ocean of nescience is minimized by a person who is a pure devotee. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord need not cross over the ocean, for he has already crossed it by virtue of his position at the Lord's lotus feet. By hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord or the Lord's devotee, one can become firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. This position can be achieved very easily by narrating the history of the life of Prithu Maharaj regularly every day. The word Vimukta Sangaha is also significant in this connection because we associate with the three qualities of material nature. Our position in this material world is full of dangers, but when we engage in the devotional service of the Lord, by process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, we immediately become Vimukta Sangha, or liberated. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the 4th canto, 23rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Maharaj Prithu's Going Back Home. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatari Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I like to seek blessings from the assembled Vaishnavas and thank you for giving me an opportunity to purify myself, and please forgive me for any shortcomings. So I have gathered a few notes from Srila Prabhupada and from a lecture given by Balaram Das from San Diego, ISKCON. So in the text 38, we're hearing from Maitreya is speaking to Vidura, and Maitreya has already explained the greatness of Prithu Maharaj's activities, which are not like the activities of any mortal human, and he's explained the benefits upon hearing them. One should achieve the same destination as Maharaj Prithu simply by taking advantage of these narrations. Maitreya Muni is encouraging us to preach so that others can also get the greatest benefit of going back home, back to Godhead. By talking with others about Bhagavad Gita, which is spoken by Krishna himself, or Srimad Bhagavatam, which is only about the loving exchanges of Krishna and his devotees, we can also attain the same destination as Maharaj Prithu. Maharaj Prithu's history of devotional service is as potent as narrations about the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To claim that we should only hear about the direct activities of Krishna's avatars and expansions, but not about his devotees, would be a great mistake. This is because Krishna is non-different from his pure devotees, and actually it pleases Krishna more when we glorify the activities of his devotees. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also demonstrated this by chanting the name of the Vraja Gopis, who are the highest devotees of Krishna. We will all be benefited by reading and hearing the process of Shravanam, as well as inducing others to hear them, either by speaking them ourselves, which is known as Kirtanam, or by book distribution, and so on. We can all contribute to helping everyone become fortunate in some way. His Grace Balaram Das from San Diego was saying in his lecture that the pure devotee who is in the mood of being a preacher, such as Prahlad Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada are trying to save the fools and rascals by giving them Krishna consciousness. Pure devotees want to stay in the cities where they are needed to give Krishna consciousness to the suffering humanity. The transcendental qualification of a Vaishnava is that they are willing to take on the suffering for other people. He is always thinking about the benefit of others. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to be in that mood as well. He said, "It is not that we like preaching. Actually, preaching is our life. We do not have to be a perfect devotee to preach. By preaching Krishna consciousness, we can get closer to perfection." In Chaitanya Bhagavat Anchakanda, Gadadhar Pandit would recite Srimad Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu in Puri. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very attracted to hearing about the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. He heard their pastimes hundreds of times. In Chaitanya Leela, Prahlad Maharaj appears as Vasudev Dutt, who had this mood where he was willing to perform particular activities for the benefit of the whole universe. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned how out of his extraordinary mercy, Vasudev Dutt wanted to take all the sins of all the karma of all living entities in the whole universe. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard about this, he said, "Vasudev Dutt, you do not have to do this. Your compassion is breaking my heart. I will send everyone back to Godhead, and you do not have to spend time in hellish region for people's sinful activities." Srila Prabhupada said how Vasudev Dutt is in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, and it is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita how he is Prahlad, willing to take on the suffering for the benefit of humanity. Approaching Radha Krishna is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. To do so, one has to approach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this age. To get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one has to approach Nityananda Prabhu and get his mercy. And to get the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, one has to approach the Jagais and Madhais. So one has to spread Krishna consciousness, and by that, he will get the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then be able to approach Radha Krishna. Preaching is kirtanam, and it is a process that helps one towards perfection. And even if one is not relishing Krishna consciousness, they can still do it. They can do it out of duty because Prabhupada and the acharyas want it, and by doing so over time, he will develop a taste. And Chaitanya Charitamrita Haridas Thakur says that some people's behavior is not so great, but they still preach. Some have wonderful behavior, but they don't preach. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Haridas Thakur, "Your behavior is proper and you preach, and therefore you're the most advanced devotee." There are 3 different ways we can become perfect. Either by Kripa Siddha, becoming perfect by the blessings of the spiritual master Krishna without much endeavor. By Sadhana Siddha, which is by our sadhana bhakti and Krishna's mercy combined when we engage in spiritual practice seriously. And Nitya Siddha, who are eternally perfect and coming from the spiritual world, such as Srila Prabhupada and other Vaishnavacharyas. It's most recommended that we approach the process of perfection by sadhana siddha, because in this way we're seriously engaging in our practice, whereas with kripa siddha we may be relying too much on mercy and become complacent. And as for nitya siddha, it is said that some are born rich, some inherit, and for some it is by their hard endeavor. But there is no difference, because if you are rich, you are rich. And so similarly, it doesn't matter how you become perfect. And in text 39, it is mentioned how if one hears and chants the narration of Prithu Maharaj with great respect day after day, he will achieve liberation by his complete attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead's lotus feet, which are the boat by which one can cross the ocean of nescience. And Mahatpadam, this means that the total source of material existence rests on the lotus feet of the Lord. The total source of material existence is emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord. The pure devotee who has taken full shelter of the Lord's lotus feet has already crossed the ocean of material existence by virtue of his position at the Lord's lotus feet. This material world is described as padam padam yad vipadam, which means that at every step there is danger. In Bhagavad Gita 2:51 purport, the liberated living entities belong to that place where there is no material miseries. One who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's footprint. Parampadam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha, is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. To attain the state beyond miseries, that means one has gone back to Godhead. The word Vaikuntha itself means the place of no anxiety. The only way to become free from the cycle of birth and death is by the 9 processes of devotional service, especially Shravanam and Kirtanam on the glories of the Lord or his pure devotee. By taking shelter of the internal potency of the Lord, their engagement in devotional service, we nourish that seed of bhakti in our heart and thus become more firmly fixed in the service of the Lord. The Lord says that the service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord. 1.5.23 Srimad Bhagavatam purport. So Krishna likes to be in the position of a devotee, and in that position he enjoys more. That is why Krishna appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of a servant of Krishna, a devotee and not the enjoyer. When he had observed that Radharani, by performing the service, is enjoying so much more than him as the recipient of service, he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this material world, we observe the head of the company has a nice big office with air conditioning, a big table, and a big chair, while the security guard sits on a small wooden stool outside the door. But in the spiritual world, it is opposite. Krishna is not an insecure master. He is the supreme enjoyer, but he is happy to bestow more enjoyment than he accepts for himself. The whole cosmic creation becomes at once identical with the Lord as soon as service in relation with the Lord is rendered under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything to glorify the Lord, and therefore, under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode by the divine grace of the Lord's servant. And with that, I would like to conclude the summary. Oh, please forgive me for any shortcomings or misinterpretations.